welcome back to another Designer Society Spotlight interview. And this time we're welcomed with the beautiful and lovely DSA friend of ours, Nina. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Haley. It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh,
Thank you.
it is such a pleasure to have you. And I know we've already talked a little bit, but I just want to dive in and start with your work sits at the intersection of design, wellness, psychology, and human experience. How would you describe your design philosophy today, and how has it evolved over the years?
My design philosophy is rooted in a simple belief. Our environments are not neutral. Every space we inhabit influences how we feel, think, behave, recover, connect, and experience our lives. Well, I didn't always have the scientific language to describe it. I've always been drawn to creating spaces that help people feel better in body and mind. Early in my career, much of my work was guided by intuition, observation, and personal experience. My nature-inspired transformation of our home had a profound effect on my health, well-being, and my family's too. It gave me a firsthand understanding of how natural light, views of nature, organic materials, color, texture, and personal meaning can dramatically affect how people feel in a space. Over time, I became fascinated by the growing body of research that connects the built environment to human health. And that curiosity eventually led me to neuroscience and biophilic design. So the research didn't change how I design. It strengthened and validated what I had been observing for years. Today, my work focuses on biophilic and neuroaesthetic design. This approach joins insights from neuroscience, psychology, and human behavior with the beauty and functionality that people expect from luxury design. I see design through an artistic and evidence-based lens. So my goal is not simply to create beautiful spaces, it's to create ones that help people feel and function better in their daily lives. Spaces that reduce stress, strengthen personal connections, and provide both joy and refuge. I specialize in fully custom generational homes, carrying projects from studs to styling, I like to say, always guided by the belief that design has the power to profoundly influence our well-being.
Perfect, perfect. And I liked how you were saying just all of the details truly affect how we feel. Like being surrounded by stuff like that is gonna affect your mood, and absolutely. So I do want to dive in next. So you've spoken about discovering the term biophilic design through a DSA newsletter, and it felt like a turning point for you. Can you take us back to that moment and share how it helped shape the direction of your work and career?
Mhm. I remember that moment very clearly. It was when I came across an article on biophilic design in the Designer Society of America newsletter. As I read it, I had one of those rare moments where everything suddenly clicked into place. For years, I had been naturally gravitating toward nature-inspired design, prioritizing natural light, organic materials, views, textures, and connections to the outdoors. I knew these elements affected how people felt, but I didn't realize there was an entire field of research and practice dedicated to understanding why. I immediately texted the builder I was working with and I said, "Look, I'm apparently doing biophilic design." And his response was, "Sounds about right." And in fact, it was seeing his own deeply nature inspired home that I first experienced the awe of entering such a home. My reaction had been both intellectual and physical. So discovering biophilic design gave me a framework and vocabulary for something I had been intuitively pursuing for years. It felt less like discovering something new and more like finding the name for something I had always felt in my gut. That DSA newsletter sparked my deep dive into evidence-based design. So when the Science and Design Certification program later appeared on my social media feed, it was an immediate no-brainer. Looking back, DSA's newsletter played an important role in shaping my path.
Man, that is just so cute. And you were already doing it without even knowing it had a name. Like, that just shows that you were perfect for this. Like, you were built for this.
Well, thank you. It's certainly, as my mother would say, it's in our blood.
It is. It absolutely is. And then I do want to ask this, also led to another question. So neuroaesthetics and biophilic design are gaining, or definitely gaining more of a mainstream attention. I know personally, I went over to Japan for my honeymoon, and that is a big thing that they integrate over there is the importance of having that greenery around them. But
Yeah.
you've been advocating for these principles for a very long time, before they became industry buzzwords. What originally drew you to this way of thinking so intuitively?
I think it comes from a combination of personal experience, observation, and life path. So I grew up in a family of nature lovers. My mother was a world-renowned naturalist inspired by E.O. Wilson. So from a very young age, I was immersed in the natural world and taught to deeply observe it. My grandfather and great-grandfather were conservationists and veterinarians. I spent many summer weeks at the huge treehouse my grandfather built on a friend's wetlands, which would later become a state nature preserve. My father loved to fish. My mother was an avid gardener. And at one point, I was convinced I would become a landscape designer because I was constantly creating flower filled rock gardens. Later, I became a professional ballroom and Argentine tango instructor and performer, who taught me to think about movement, emotion, rhythm, and the way people experience space through the body. I also worked as a fashion model, deepening my appreciation for aesthetics, visual storytelling, and the way that our surroundings influence perception and emotion. I traveled extensively, absorbing architecture, landscapes, ruins, cathedrals, mosques, floating villages, and homes around the world. My husband even proposed to me at the Taj Mahal, and I designed our wedding around the floral tile inlay colors found there. I then became a nature inspired Montessori preschool teacher, and my thesis focused on the value of nature in education and healthy childhood development. Looking back, I think that I was always asking the same question: how do built environments shape the human experience? Whether it was a classroom, a home, a healthcare setting, workplace, or world wonder, I was fascinated by the relationship between people and place. So the science simply gave me a deeper understanding of what I had been observing all along.
Oh my gosh, you got proposed to at the Taj Mahal. That is so
Yeah,
cool.
it is on YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I would love to see like even your flowers that you associated with the tiling and everything. Oh, I
Yes,
bet that was so
I had
beautiful.
many different colors in the wedding. The flowers were integrated. I actually reversed it so that my flower bouquet was all the colors and the bridesmaids were white.
Uh-huh.
But they had one of the colors of the tile inlay for their dresses, their nail polish, their shoes. Like it was a whole thing. And then the guys had matching watches and ties and socks.
That's brilliant. You with your color palette, you really have that creative bone down to your soul. I can see it.
Yes.
Um, so you often speak about the measurable impact of design on emotional and physical well-being. What are some of the most important conversations the design industry should be having right now around human health and the built environment?
One of the most important conversations would be recognizing that design is not just aesthetic. Design is biological, design is behavioral, and design has measurable consequences. We need to talk more about the environments, about how they affect stress, cognition, sleep, mental health, social connection, recovery, productivity, and really overall quality of life. For too long, I think healthcare has been viewed as something that happens in hospitals and doctors' offices, but we spend by far most of our lives inside other buildings, working, learning, congregating, raising families, and so much more. Are those places not also important for healing and aging well? We need to shift our focus from mostly pathogenesis, which is what causes disease, towards salutogenesis, what protects and promotes health and well-being. Rather than simply asking how to reduce harm, we should also be asking how our environments can actively support resilience and restoration, emotional regulation, and human flourishing. so should design. We don't accept beautiful spaces that are dangerous. Why should we accept them when they ignore opportunities for improving health and a sense of well-being? In that regard, Bill Browning and Katie Ryan's concept of gap analysis is incredibly valuable. Rather than focusing on what is in an environment, we must begin asking what's missing from it. Does it lack connections to nature or opportunities for refuge or prospect? Does it lack the sensory experiences that help people feel grounded, restored, or inspired? For example, spaces may be artfully designed, yet lack access to natural light or views of nature, or a workplace may provide ample areas for collaboration, but offer no quiet spaces for focus, reflection, or restoration. So some of the most impactful design decisions come from spotting what's absent rather than what's present. I'm also fascinated by Ty Farrow's concepts of spatial friction and spatial traction, among others that are in his architectural determinants of health. Spatial friction refers to spaces that create unnecessary stress, cognitive load, confusion, or biological burden. Spatial traction describes ones that help regulate the nervous system, create ease, and support restoration. For example, a home with poor flow, constant clutter, inadequate storage, and harsh lighting can create spatial friction that contributes to stress and mental fatigue. I know personally because I went through that. By contrast, a home with intuitive circulation, organized storage, access to natural light, and strong connections to nature can create spatial traction by supporting ease, comfort, and overall well-being. When we begin designing for how people feel, function, heal, and experience their lives rather than simply how a space looks, it changes the conversation entirely.
And I liked what you said earlier when you were like, you go to, you don't need to just go to the hospital or the doctor's office to heal. A lot of the healing should happen at your home because that's where you are all the time. So I could not agree more.
Yes.
Um, and I know you were definitely very much in the tech space. You and I ran into each other at High Point at a talk about tech and AI, actually. But I just wanted to ask, like you've mentioned the importance of conversations surrounding emerging research and AI, technology, learning and innovation. What developments are you most excited about or most curious about within the future of design?
What excites me most is our growing ability to better understand how built environments influence human experience. The field of neuroscience, environmental psychology, neuroaesthetics, and biophilic design are generating insights that have the potential to transform the way we approach design. I'm also fascinated by the role technology and AI may play in helping us analyze patterns, process research, identify opportunities we might otherwise miss, and communicate ideas more effectively. At the same time, I believe design will always require something that technology cannot replace: human empathy. The future of design is not about replacing creativity, it's about augmenting design with a distinctly human sensibility. I'm particularly excited about conversations currently taking place among disciplines that historically operated independently. Highly innovative ideas will emerge when researchers, healthcare professionals, neuroscientists, architects, designers, builders, technologists, educators, and psychologists learn more from one another. More broadly, I see a growing global movement toward understanding how built environments shape health and being, as well as a deeper focus on designing for human outcomes rather than aesthetics alone. What was once considered a niche area of interest in design is now percolating through the mainstream. To me, the future of design is not just about creating beautiful spaces. It's also about creating healthier, more supportive environments that help people thrive.
And two, I do want to call out that yes, technology is definitely used as a tool. I hate AI using all of this water with these data centers, and I'm definitely
Yes.
thinking designers need to be there for that human touch. You cannot go on and have this biophilic design without all of these touches that I think do come from human empathy. But I also do think AI and technology is a great tool that can help everyone in the future for sure.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah. let's move on to a fun topic. So your Transcend Healthcare hardware collection is such a unique extension of your work. What inspired the collection, and what did you hope to bring to the healthcare and residential design spaces through these pieces?
Transcend was born from a question that's guided much of my work. How can design improve the human experience in daily settings? The collection was developed in partnership with Accurate Lock and Hardware. Among other products, Accurate manufactures specialized hardware for behavioral health and healthcare environments, including ligature-resistant and ADA-compliant hardware. Ligature-resistant hardware is specifically designed for settings where patients may be at risk of attempting to take their own lives, requiring an extraordinary level of attention to safety. These environments often have a cold institutional feel. My goal was to bring nature into those everyday touch points and create moments that support patients, staff, and visiting families, reducing their stress and boosting their emotional well-being in otherwise seemingly soulless spaces can have profound consequences. What fascinated me was the opportunity to bring biophilic and neuroaesthetic design principles into something that's often overlooked, architectural hardware. So by laser etching nature-inspired imagery and fractal patterns onto everyday door hardware, we were able to introduce elements of nature into places where people might least expect them. The collection is intended to create moments of connection, curiosity, calm, and restoration, transporting the viewer beyond the immediate environment and into the restorative qualities of nature. Views of nature and fractal patterns are known to reduce stress, improve mood, support restoration, and help reduce mental fatigue. And staff burnout was particularly important to me because healthcare environments affect everyone within them. What makes the collection especially meaningful to me is that it demonstrates how even the smallest design details can matter. Door and cabinetry hardware may seem insignificant, yet it can become part of a larger experience that influences how someone feels within a space. Transcend also sparked in me a deep interest in translating biophilic and neuroaesthetic principles beyond interiors and into the products people interact with every day. So that exploration led to the launch of my biophilic and neuroaesthetic rug collection with Ruggle Up, and has opened the door to additional exciting collaborations currently in development. So I hope Transcend encourages people to think differently about design. Design has boundless opportunities for using nature and aesthetics to design salutogenic spaces in all human spaces, from private and residential to commercial and governmental.
Very good. Can I ask a question? What was the word you just used?
Salutogenic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what salutogenic means.
So salutogenic means focusing on how we can cause health, not just how we prevent or treat disease. So pathogenesis is all focused on, the harm that was already caused. So there's a classic healthcare analogy, a river analogy, downstream, upstream. So downstream, there's a lot of people drowning, and there's others, pulling them out, trying to save them. And upstream, finally, someone walks upstream and they say, well, why are all these people falling in the river in the first place? How can we prevent them from falling in the river? And it's really about how can we design our environments to cause health and healing and well-being rather than just treating symptoms after the fact, because if our blood pressure is going up, why are we waiting until it's gone up? Why haven't we designed our environments to help reduce stress and cortisol levels in the first place?
That, following that form follows function. Let's also follow our feelings. That was a lot of F's.
Yes.
Your work consistently balances beauty with deeper purpose and meaning. How do you personally define successful design?
I love this question. Successful design is design that improves people's lives. Of course, aesthetics matter, beauty matters, but beauty alone is not enough. For me, successful design is measured by how a space supports the people who use it. Does it reduce stress, foster connection, support well-being, improve functionality, create joy, help someone feel more like themselves, or perhaps their better selves? The most meaningful projects are the ones where clients tell me how the spaces I designed and shepherded through construction have improved their lives. I recently completed an aging in place bathroom for a client with impaired mobility and balanced peripheral neuropathy. And one of the most touching things she said afterward was that it is the safest and most uplifting place in her home, that lingering in it feels like being with a dear friend. To me, that's the ultimate measure of success. Another indicator of successful design is the awe it inspires. In neuroaesthetics, awe is often described as the feeling we experience when we encounter something larger than ourselves, something that expands our perspective and momentarily quiets our everyday concerns. Throughout my career, I've observed that response from young children to older adults and from homeowners to master craftsmen and builders. You see it when they instinctively pause at the threshold of a space and smile, become emotional, or simply say, wow. Spontaneous art signals that the space connected with them at a deeper level than aesthetics alone. I also believe that good design should be life enhancing and in some cases life extending. This is especially evident in aging in place design. Thoughtful design can help people remain safer, more independent, more socially connected, and able to stay in their homes longer. So over time, improvements in mobility, reduced stress, better sleep quality, lower cognitive load, increased social interaction, and restored joy can add up, contributing to a greater sense of well-being and potentially even longevity. I thus view designers who practice biophilic and neuroaesthetic design as an important part of the broader health and wellness ecosystem. We may not prescribe medication, but we help shape the environments in which people spend most of their lives. Those environments can either support health, resilience, restoration, and human flourishing, or work against them. When design supports both beauty and human flourishing, that is success.
Nina, what a good answer. I could not agree more. You've got to look outside of aesthetics. Interior design is so much more beyond. Like, oh, that was so perfect. Good.
Oh,
Could
you.
not agree. Could not agree more. Um, and then lastly, looking ahead, what ideas, projects, or conversations are inspiring you right now?
I'm inspired by the growing movement toward health-centered design and the increasing collaboration between the design profession and relevant sciences. I'm excited by conversations about neuroaesthetics, biophilic design, healthcare innovation, aging in place, education, and the future of wellness-focused environments. What most excites me is seeing disciplines that have historically operated independently now learning from one another. Some of the most innovative ideas emerge when healthcare professionals, architects, designers, psychologists, educators, and technologists work together to improve human well-being. Take, for example, the Mind Body Space Symposium in Amsterdam that I'm excited to be attending in July. The symposium brings together leaders from neuroscience, architecture, healthcare, psychology, design, and research to explore how our environments influence human health and well-being. It represents exactly where I think the future of design is headed. More interdisciplinary collaboration, deeper research, and a more holistic understanding of what it means to create environments that help people thrive. Personally, I want to take these more nature-inspired, holistic conversations beyond the residential sphere and into healthcare, schools, workplaces, and public spaces. My goal is to help translate the science into something that people can understand, applying, creating, or renovating the spaces that humans inhabit or move through. Advancing that mission is at the heart of everything I do, from design projects and product collaborations to speaking engagements and educational initiatives. My biggest contribution to the design profession would be for designers to realize that design is a more powerful force than many realize. It has power to improve how we experience our days, our relationships, our health, and ultimately our lives. That opportunity to create healthier, more supportive environments continues to inspire me every day.
That was so great. And I'm so excited to hear more about, your future products and collaborations because I'm just further and further more interested in what you called aging in place. I hadn't heard that before, and it makes sense. You've got to have, those kind of accessibilities and thinking about the future in that way.
Exactly. And there's a growing aging population that needs to be addressed.
So
I just read an article about how as you age, it's interesting how there's certain rooms that you can no longer use. And so aging in place design brings those rooms back to you. Isn't that, it's fascinating when you think about that. I mean, even just grab bars alone, you know?
literally grab bars. Yes. It's functions like that, I think need to be thought of more in public places like you're wanting to focus on.
Yes.
Um, so that was the end of my main questions. Were there any questions I didn't ask that you would like to talk about or want me to ask?
um,
That's
Uh,
fair.
well, I can tell you that we're expanding the Transcend collection. So that is very exciting. Yes. Um, uh, it's it started in healthcare settings and behavioral health, and some of it overlapped a little bit with residential because some pieces can be used there as well. But now we're expanding it much more into residential and commercial. So that is a very exciting development for me because when I started my business, my goal was to make a large positive impact in the world. And I knew how much design, especially biophilic and neuroaesthetic design, had transformed my own life. And I wanted to bring those health and well being to others. So, Transcend is one of my proudest accomplishments because I think it has a lot of potential to help a large number of people, especially people who are experiencing some of the most vulnerable moments of their life.
I'm so excited about your collection and your upcoming stuff. This was such a fun interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure, Haley. I mean, the DSA really changed my life with their initial support. My very first supporter.
That's
Yes.
so nice to say, Nina, and we appreciate you. We're doing a lot of big updates and we really appreciate your constant support and cheering and engagement. So whatever you need, we got your back. We are always here to support our designers and thank you for supporting DSA. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I feel that. I definitely do. And it's my
Good. Good, thank you. And this was another great episode of Designer Spotlight with DSA. And thank you so much, Nina, for being with us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you, Haley.
Absolutely.